I'm Chris Wong, and today I'd like to talk to you about the Shelix Cutterhead and the DeWalt DW735 planer. Now, I bought this planer about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been really happy with the planer. However, it comes with a set of high-speed steel knives which are reversible with 2 cutting edges, and they don't really hold an edge very well. So soon after I bought the planer, I found the knives had dulled, so I turned them over to use the second set, and they didn't last much longer. So I looked at options. To buy the replacement knives for the DeWalt high-speed steel knives that come with the planer, it's about $90, and seeing as they lasted such a short time, I didn't feel that it was a good investment, so I kept looking. What I found from Infinity, you can buy carbide knives, single-edge knives. They cost about $250, and that's what I have installed in the planer right now. Now, they've lasted much longer than the stock knives. They've lasted me just about 2 years now, but now they're dull, and once again I'm looking back and trying to figure out whether I want to buy another set of carbide knives for the planer or upgrade to the Shelix Cutterhead, and that's exactly what I've done here. The Shelix Cutterhead cost about $600, and because you get 4 sets of knives, you get little square carbide knives with 4 edges on each of them. Each edge ends up costing about $125. So to me, it's great value if you can justify the upfront cost. So today I went out to Canadian Woodworker and I bought the Shelix Cutterhead for the DeWalt, and today I'm going to install. So let's open the box and see what we have here. This is the Cutterhead and all the parts. Get some spare cutters in there as well. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And you get a nice instruction manual too. It's very detailed, lots of pictures in there. Okay, so the Cutterhead comes packaged pretty well. The carbide cutters are already installed. This package here wrapped with foam. We have a plastic bag here containing 1 Torx driver and a 1/4-inch drive screwdriver. These are used to install the cutter. Rotate the cutter a quarter of a turn and then tighten the screw again, and you've got a brand new edge. So the Cutterhead has 2 bearings installed. It's got a smaller diameter bearing here, a larger diameter bearing here, and it has a thread on this end and a bit of shaft exposed as well. So we'll have a look, see how it all goes together in a minute. Okay, so how do we install the Shelix Cutterhead? First, we'll check our manual here. Don't mind the phone book underneath it. So the first step is to remove the top cover. That's done using the included tool with the planer to remove the 4 screws in the top. Now that cover lifts off, and we'll set it aside. Okay, so inside the planer you need to remove this cover. This is also the dust shroud, so all the chips come through up past the Cutterhead and then through the port out the back of the planer. So these 3 red bolts need to be removed. There's a convenient tray up here for them. And then to remove the shroud, you lift it up, slide it out, and it's free. There we go. Okay, so now we need to take apart the Cutterhead, remove the blades. So to do that, we go back and use that included tool. There's a Cutterhead lock on this side here, which keeps the Cutterhead from rotating. There's a little bit of movement, but it won't get away from you. So those are the screws. There are 8 screws per knife, 3 knives, so 24 screws to remove. I bet you wish this was on fast forward, don't you? Too bad it's not on fast forward. Turn, turn, turn. About 3 years ago I replaced the Cutterhead of my Delta DJ20 8-inch jointer with a Shelix head as well. That procedure was quite simple. It took me maybe an hour and a half. Now with the screws removed, the clap bar here is free. So on the back of the tool there's two magnets here. There I've got the clamp bar. Set that aside. And the knife. So there's the carbide knife. And yeah, it's pretty dull. That was a good value though. If you're not ready to step up to $600 for the Shelix, I would recommend the carbide knife from Infinity. So that's one out. Now I'll depress the Cutterhead lock and carefully rotate the cutter head and take off the next. These are quite firm. I'm not sure if you could use a drill with them. I'm going to try. If you strip one of these screws, then yeah, good luck removing it. You might be wondering about this oddly shaped handle. It's actually designed to apply a certain amount of torque, which is the proper amount for these screws so you don't over torque them. So that's the last screw, clamp bar, and the third carbide knife. Okay, we're on to step 4 now. I rotated the planer so you can see what we're doing. We'll be removing the Cutterhead lock, which is this mechanism here. So there's 2 Phillips screws here, and there's a plate, a couple washers, and there's a spring behind there as well. Be careful you don't lose that. Put that over here, and we'll move to the next step.